Chapter 13. Nicholas Flamel. Dumbledore had convinced Harry not to go looking for the Mirror of Eris again, and for the rest of the Christmas holidays, the invisibility cloak stayed folded at the bottom of his trunk. Harry wished he could forget what he'd seen in the mirror as easily. But he couldn't. He started having nightmares. Over and over again, he dreamed about his parents disappearing in a flash of green light while a high voice cackled with laughter. You see, Dumbledore was right. That mirror could drive you mad, said Ron, when Harry told him about these dreams. Hermione, who came back the day before them started, took a different view of things. She was torn between at the idea of Harry being out of bed, roaming the school 3 nights in a row, and disappointment that he hadn't at last found out who Nicholas Flamel was. They had almost given up hope of ever finding Flamel in a library book, even though Harry was still sure he'd read the name somewhere. Once term had started, they were back to skimming through books for 10 minutes during their breaks. Harry had even less time than the other two because Quidditch practice had started again. Wood was working the team harder than ever. Even the endless rain that had replaced the snow couldn't dampen his spirits. The Weasleys complained the Wood as was becoming a fanatic, but Harry was on Wood's side. If they won their next match against Hufflepuff, they would overtake Slytherin in the house championship for the first time in 7 years. Quite apart for wanting to win, Harry found that he had fewer nightmares when he was tired out after training. Then, during one particularly wet and muddy party session, would give the team a bit of bad news. He just got very angry with the Weasleys, who kept dive bombing each other and pretending to fall off their brooms. Will you stop messing around? He yelled. That's exactly the sort of things that will lose us the match. Snaps, referring this time, and he will be looking for any excuse to knock points off Gryffindor. George Weasley really did fall off his brooms at these words. Snaps referring? He plotted through a mouthful of mud. Once he ever refereed a Quidditch match, he's not going to be fair if we might overtake Slytherin. The rest of the team landed next to George to complain too. It's not my fault, said Wood. We have just got to make sure we play a clean game, so Snap has not got an excuse to pick on us. Which was all very well, struck Harry, but he had another reason for not wanting Snape near him while he was playing Quidditch. The rest of the team hung back to talk to each other as usual at the end of practice, but Harry headed straight back to the Gryffindor common room, where he found Ron and Hermione playing chess. Chess was the only thing Hermione ever lost at, something Harry and Ron thought was very good of her. Don't talk to me for a moment, said Ron when Harry sat down next to him. I need to consent. He caught sight of Harry's face. What's the matter with you? You look terrible. Speaking quietly so that no one else would hear, Harry told the other two about Snape's sudden, sinister desire to be a Quidditch referee. Don't play, said Hermione at once. Say you are ill, said Ron. Pretend to break your leg, Hermione suggested. Really break your leg? I can, said Harry. There is a reserve seeker. If I back out, Gryffindor can play at all. At the moment, Neville toppled into the common room. How he had managed to climb through the portrait wall was anyone's guess. Because his legs had been stuck together with weight, they recognized at once as the Locklocker curse. He must have had to bunny hop all the way up to Gryffindor Tower. Everyone fell about laughing except Hermione, who leaped up and performed the counter curse. Neville's legs sprang apart and he got his feet trembling. What happened? Hermione asked him, leading him over to sit with Harry and Ron. Malfoy, said Neville exactly. I met him outside the library. He said he'd been looking for someone to practice that on. Go to Professor McGonagall, Hermione urged Neville. Report him. Neville shook his head. I don't want more trouble, he mumbled. You've got to stand up to him, Neville, said Ron. He's used to walking all over people. But that's no reason to lie down in front of him and make it easier. There's no need to tell me I'm not brave enough to be in Gryffindor. Malfoy's already done that. Neville choked. Harry felt in the pocket of his robes and pulled out a chocolate frog. The very last one from the box Hermione had given him for Christmas. He gave it to Neville, who looked as though he might cry. You are worth 12 of Malfoy, Harry said. The sorting had cost you for Gryffindor, didn't it? And where's Malfoy? In stinking Slytherin. Neville's lips twitched in a weak smile as he unwrapped the frog. Thanks, Harry. I think I will go to bed. You want to card? You collect them, don't you? As Neville walked away, Harry looked at the famous wizard card. Dumbledore again, he said. He was the first one I ever. He gasped. He stared at the back of the card. Then he looked up at Ron and Hermione. I found him, he whispered. I found Flamel. I thought I read the name somewhere before. I read it in on the train coming here. Listen to this. Professor Dumbledore is particularly famous for his defeat of the Dark Wizard Grindelwald in 1945 for the discovery of the 12 use of dragon blood and his work on alchemy with his partner Nicholas Flamel. Hermione jumped to her feet. She hadn't looked so excited since they got back the marks for their very first piece of homework. Stay here, she said, and she sprang up the stairs to the girls' dormitories. Harry and Ron barely had time to exchange mystified looks before she was dashing back, an enormous old book in her arms. Next morning, in defense against the dark arts, while copying down different ways of treating werewolf bites, Harry and Ron were still discussing what they'd do with a philosopher's stone if they had one. It was until Ron said he'd buy his own Quidditch team that Harry remembered about Snape and the coming match. I'm going to play, he told Ron and Hermione. If I don't, all the Slytherins will think I'm just too scared to face Snape. I will show them. It will really wipe the smile off their face if we win. Just as long as we're not whipping you off the pitch, said Hermione. As the match drew nearer, however, Harry became more and more nervous. Whatever he told Ron and Hermione, the rest of the team weren't too calm either. The idea of overtaking Slytherin in the house champion was wonderful. No one had done it for nearly 7 years. But would they be allowed to, with such a bizarre reverse? Harry didn't know whatever he was imagining it or not, but he seemed to keep running into Snape wherever he went. At times, he even wondered whatever Snape he was following him, trying to catch him on his own. Potion lessons were turning into a sort of weekly torture. Snape was so horrible to Harry. Could Snape possibility know they'd found out about the Phosphorus Stone? Harry didn't see how he could yet. He sometimes had the horrible feeling that Snape could read minds. Harry knew when they wished him good luck outside the changing rooms next afternoon, that Ron and Hermione were wondering whether they'd ever see him alive again. This was what you'd call comforting. Harry hardly heard a word of Wood's pep talk as pulled on his Quidditch robes and picked up his Nimbus 2000. Ron and Hermione, meanwhile, had found a place in the stands next to Neville, who could understand why they looked so grim and worried, or why they had both brought their wands to the match. Little did Harry know that Ron and Hermione had been secretly practicing the leg locker curse. They got the idea from Malfoy using it on Neville, and were ready to use it on Snape if he showed any sign of wanting to hurt Harry. "No, don't forget, it's Locomotor Mortis," Hermione muttered as Ron slipped his wine up his sleeve. "I know," Ron snapped. "Don't nag." Back in the changing room, Wood had taken Harry aside. "Don't want to pressure you, Potter, but if we ever need an early capture of Snitch, it's now. Finish the game before Snape can favor Hufflepuff too much." "The whole school out there," said Fred Weasley, peering out of the door. "Even Blimey Dumbledore's come to watch." Harry Hart did a somersault. "Dumbledore?" he said, dashing to the door to make sure Fred was right. There was no mistaking that silver beard. Harry could have laughed out loud with relief. He was safe. There was simply no way that Snape would dare to try to hurt him if Dumbledore was watching. Perhaps that was why Snape was looking so angry as the teams marched on the pitch. Something that Ron noticed too. "I've never seen Snape looking so mean," he told Hermione. "Look, they are off." Ouch. Someone had poked Ron in the back of the head. It was Malfoy. "Oh, sorry, Weasley. Didn't see you there." Malfoy grinned broadly at Crabbe and Goyle. "Wonder how long Potter's going to stay on his broom this time. Anyone want a bit?" "What about you, Weasley?" Ron didn't answer. Snape had just awarded Hufflepuff a penalty because George Weasley had hit a blocker at him. Hermione, who had all her fingers crossed in her lap, was squinting fixedly at Harry, who was circling the game like a hawk, looking for the snitch. "You know how I think they choose people for the Gryffindor team?" said Malfoy loudly a few minutes later. As Snape awarded Hufflepuff another penalty for no reason at all, it's people they feel sorry for. See, there's Potter, who's got no parents. Then there's the Weasley, who got no money. You should be on the team. Longbottom, you've got no brains. Neville went bright red but turned in his seat to face Malfoy. I'm worth 12 of you, Malfoy, he stammered. Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle howled with laughter, but Ron, still not daring to take his eyes from the game, said, "You tell him, Neville. Longbottom, if were gold, you'd be poorer than Weasley, and that's saying something." Ron's nerves were already stretched to breaking point with anxiety about Harry. "I'm warning you, Malfoy. One more word." "Ron," said Hermione suddenly. "Harry!" "What? Where?" Harry had suddenly gone into a spectacular dive, which drew gasps and cheers from the crowd. Hermione stood up, her crossed fingers in her mouth. As Harry sticked towards the ground like a ballet, "You are in luck, Weasley. Potter's officially spot some money on the ground," said Malfoy. Ron snapped. Before Malfoy knew what was happening, Ron was on top of him, wrestling him to the ground. Neville his stated, then clambered off the back of his seat to help. "Come on, Harry," Hermione screamed, leaping on the her seat to watch as Harry sped straight at Snape. She didn't even notice Malfoy and Ron rolling around under her seat, or the guffaws and yelps coming from the worst of fists that was Neville, Crabbe, and Goyle. Up in the air, Snape turned on his broomstick just in time to see something scarlet shoot past him, missing him by inches. Next second, Harry had pulled out of the dive, his arm raised in the triumph, the snitch clasped in his hand. Harry jumped off his brooms, a foot from the ground. He couldn't believe it. He'd done it. The game was over. It had barely lasted 5 minutes. As Gryffindors came spilling on the pitch, he saw Snape lay nearby, white-faced and tight-lipped. Then Harry felt a hand on his shoulder and looked up into Dumbledore's smiling face. "Well done," said Dumbledore quickly, so that only Harry could hear. "Nice to see you haven't been brooding about that mirror. Been keeping busy? Excellent." Snape spat badly on the ground. Harry leaned forward. Quirrell was bumbling something. Snape interrupted him. "Have you found out how to get past that beast of Hagrid's yet?" "But Severus, uh, uh, you don't want me as your enemy, Quirrell," said Snape, taking a step towards him. I don't know what you know perfectly well what I mean." An old hood lady and Harry nearly fell out of their tree. He steadied himself in time to hear Snape say, "Your little bit of hocus pocus, I'm waiting." "But I, I don't." "Very well," Snape cut in. "Well, have another little cat soon, when you've had time to think things over and decide where your loyalties lie." He threw his cloak over his head and strode out of the clearing. It was almost dark now, but Harry could see Quirrell, standing quite still as though he was petrified. "Harry, where have you been?" Hermione squeaked. "We won! You won! We won!" shouted Ron, stamping Harry on the back. and I give Malfoy a big eye and Neville tried to take on Crabbe and Goyle single-handed. He's still out cold, but Madame Pomfrey says he'll be alright. Talk about showing Slytherin. Everyone's waiting for you in the common room. We're having a party. Fred and George stole some cake and stuff from the kitchen. Never mind that now, said Harry breathlessly. Let's find an empty room. You wait till you hear this. He made sure Piff wasn't inside before shutting the door behind them. Then he told them what he'd seen and heard. So we were right. It is the Philosopher's Stone, and Snape's trying to force Squirrel to help him get it. He asked if he knew how to get past Fluffy, and he said something about Quirrell Hocus Pocus. I reckon there are other things squaring the stone apart from Fluffy. Lots of enchantments, probably, and Quirrell would have done some anti-dark art spell which Snape needs to break through. So, you mean the stone's only safe as long as Quirrell stand up to Snape? Said Hermione in alarm. It will be gone by next Tuesday, said Ron.